Com. You'll see I got a full house in the studio today, which always brings me so much joy. And it's hard to believe it is almost prom season again. I think pollen season and prom season kind of run together every year. And the Mississippi Department of Rehab wants to make sure that everyone returns home safe on prom night. And joining us today is Jennifer Gray. She is with the department. She's the communication director with the department. We've got Lieutenant Chase Elkins. He's the assistant director for the Public Affairs Division for Mississippi Highway Patrol. And we've got Miss Elizabeth, who's helping to coordinate the prom efforts. So it's a big season for you guys. So welcome. And Jennifer, I'm going to start with you because you guys at the department sort of head this up every year. What's sort of the story behind it? What's the main purpose of the prom? Please return home on Monday.
Through our Office of Special Disabilities, we get a lot of clients who have traumatic brain injuries and spinal cord injuries due to wrecks. And so through a lot of grants that help that program go, we do prevention efforts. So that's an awareness and prevention effort that we do to keep people safe.
And that's one thing that you definitely want to do during the season. And Lieutenant Elkins, I mean, these are hard topics. It's not anything you'd want to do and go and knock on a parent's door on prom night of all things, but it's real life, and it can sort of happen from the patrol's perspective. Why is this so important to continue to raise awareness?
Well, we in Mississippi are steadily the top in fatalities, specifically for our teenagers, our young drivers, and so we do anything we can to deter that, not just with the prom program, but traffic safety. Obviously, we write tickets is what we're known for, but we spend a lot of time in schools and in different clubs and events to try to deter the action prior to it happening so we don't have to address it on the road.
And you're not just doing this via, social media or via here on the radio. Y'all are getting out there and really talking to the children too, Jennifer. I know that's a big piece to this sort of prom program. So what's going to be happening between now and the end of prom season around the state?
We typically try to do it within the 2 weeks before the school's prom. Right now we're scheduled for 50 across the state. We've had 2 already. We have 2 more this week, and we will go in. We've got about an hour. There is a MDRS representative, a MHP representative, and then usually we have a client come, and we talk to them about safety, real-life testimonies, and all that.
So, Elizabeth, when you're reaching out to the schools, is it a hard sell for them to allow someone to come in and sort of talk about, the dangers of prom night, even though there can be a lot of fun involved with it too?
No, usually the schools are really receptive and say, okay, when can you get us in?
So you got 50 sites. Is there room for more schools to still sign up, or are we kind of at, she's like, oh, God, yes or
yes,
no? I didn't know if I was throwing you under the bus or
yes,
whatever it may be.
We do still have lots of room, especially at the end of April, beginning of May. We have lots of openings. We're pretty booked solid from the end of March to the mid-April week. The week before Easter and the week after Easter, we are pretty much booked.
Well, it's in the name, prom. Please return on Monday, which you think, that's what every parent wants. They want their child to go out and enjoy these festivities, and then they obviously want them to come home. But Lieutenant Elkins, we go straight to the worst, which would be a DUI or a car wreck where a life is taken. But it always doesn't have to be tragic to be traumatic, I think is a great way for parents to remember it. So from the Highway Patrol's perspective, what are some of the big, red flags or things that kids get loose with on prom night?
Yeah, well, and we have the fatal 4, the 4 main things in traffic safety that we focus on. That's seatbelt speed, distracted driving, and then obviously the DUI. With our young drivers, what we typically see is on prom night, prior to prom night, there's a lot of focus on these 4 things, and they're really monitoring their speed and really paying attention to making sure that their phones are down. And then on prom night specifically, there's such a relaxed state and a relaxed environment that they're in. When they leave prom, they stay in that relaxed state, and then that's when these accidents, these crashes typically happen.
And they're not the only ones who loosen their, morals or values around prom. I know, and I'm not saying any parent listening to Good Things would be that parent that would just, turn their eyes or maybe allow things that wouldn't normally happen at their home, maybe on any other given weekend. But remind the adults who may be hosting after prom parties or thinking about being the drivers for the kids, it's still a crime.
It is, and the sad thing is that kids are smart. We treat them as though we can have these events at homes, maybe for one night out of this special weekend, and that nothing else will happen. But eventually, your eyes are not going to be on them. Your eyes are not going to be on their keys if that's what you decide to do. And kids are going to get what they want to get, and they're going to go where they want to go. And you can only keep them contained or obeying the rules for so long before, if they want to be disobedient, they will.
They will. Jennifer, I know part of this is bringing in personal stories to the programs that are going around the state. And do you have one sort of your own that connects with why this is so important, if you mind sharing?
I do. Actually, I made it through my prom, but my freshman year of college, I was involved in a one-car drunk driving wreck, and the driver didn't make it. And he was one of my friends. So, ever since then, I vowed to, live out my reason for being here. Survivor guilt is real. It shouldn't have been anybody that night, and it could have been avoided 100%.
And there's so many other personal testimonies, I'm sure, Elizabeth, that will get, worked into all of the school programs and things. What's it like watching the kids hear from other stories that, you're not bulletproof, it can happen. Even if it's never happened in your school, it can happen to a friend, and, it doesn't need to be you, or doesn't have to be you.
The kids are very receptive. They, at the end of it, they can come up and talk to us and talk to the client, and you can see the one who really needs to be talked to, and they're the ones who usually reach out to the client, and they'll have as much time as the school will let them to talk for a little bit, and to see that student talk to that client and kind of connect and kind of change a little bit. You can see their attitude changing. It's really amazing.
And this is one of those programs where, how many years has the department been putting this on, Jennifer?
This will be its 6th year.
I think it's its 6th year, and I think Good Things has been there for all six years of it, which is exciting. And it's one of those things, you don't know how many lives you've saved, right? Because, you don't want to know that statistics necessarily. But if you can just encourage one kid to be a little smarter, or one parent to be a little more mindful of, the restrictions, or remembering that prom is still has, is not a bulletproof sort of night, then I think, it's definitely doing its job. Lieutenant Elkins, I would say the best numbers after prom night would be no fatalities, no DUIs, no wrecks, and all of that. And do y'all keep up with that in terms of, I know prom's a season, but have y'all seen any trending and things getting better?
As far as the stats are hard to keep up with in that specific time frame. What we typically do is we see the kids running into this idea and this mindset that nothing can happen to me. And it's not just our young drivers, it's our older drivers as well. Until it's not. And, we really try to encourage kids not to drive for you because it can't happen to you, but drive for the person that's invested in your life, the ones that have poured into you, because if in the event that something happens, whether it be fatality or life-altering injury, you're going to be affected for sure, but it affects so many more than just you. So instead of driving for you because you're bulletproof, drive for the ones that you love and the ones that you care about, and make the decisions that are right for them.
Because nobody wants to live with survivor guilt, like you mentioned, Jennifer. Nobody wants to make that knock on the door, and nobody just wants that to ruin prom night. Like, let's be honest. Like, even if you survive it, it's not something that you want to necessarily have a memory for. I know you guys are out there doing a lot of work. Elizabeth, you said you could still take on schools. Y'all have got posters. Awareness is key. So where do we go for all that information?
Well, you can email prom at mdrs.ms.gov. We also have a prom page on our mdrs.ms.gov website, or social. We share a lot about that as well.
And Elizabeth, if there's a school, or I guess even a church group or whatever that may want to get this program in during this time, how do they get in touch?
Prom. Check that email, prom at mdrs.ms.gov. We also have a prom poster contest going on right now. Our poster right now has Marshall Ramsey's amazing artwork on it, but we wanted to get it out there for the students to be able to submit. If you're in 9th through 12th grade, you can submit your artwork and possibly be on the poster next year.
All righty. Well, that's it. Prom, please return home on Monday. We want everyone to have a safe and wonderful prom season and experience. And just be smart out there, right? Stay smart. All right. And stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.